What's shaking, poker peeps? It's Monday, the 6th of January 2014, nearly 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Welcome back to Run It Up 2. That's right, we are at it one more time today, trying to get the new year started off right. We're 2 for 2 in 2014. We played a couple of sessions earlier today, and they were both winners. So you gotta like that. Here we are at a couple of new tables of 10 No Limit. And it looks like we are starting this session out with a rollicking bankroll of 226.30. And there you go. That does it. We are just kind of trucking along, hoping to do more of the same after this morning's winning sessions. We think, a reasonable job of categorizing people with our little colored flags down here, kind of taking note of who the calling stations are, where the crackheads are, all that kind of good stuff. And so far the results have been okay. It doesn't hurt when you keep flopping reasonably well. Not too shabby to be looking at the second nut draw. Let's look at a turn card. Bam. Got to like that. Got to like that. So I'm just considering whether we want to hold off. I think what we're going to try to do here, in all likelihood, if he's worried about a flush, he's not going to call much of a bet anyway, although it could be harder for him to fold if he just made 3 queens. But I think we'll do the long pause and then check. Give him a chance to take a stab at it, but he thinks better of it. Looks like maybe we weren't going to make anything more off that hand anyway, so a reasonable decision, perhaps, to check the river. He's not going for that Bush League psych-out stuff with the long wait. Trying to look like those folks who do the long wait check because they're trying to slow you down. Maybe he's just unfamiliar with that phenomenon. Who knows? So let's take a tour. Shorter stack on our right there, who's sitting out, and look at that, a feller with 41 bucks up there. Okay, look at that. We're making pairs all over the place. Not too concerned about that call just yet. Well, that helps the cause a little bit. See if we can squeeze a few more dimes out of that feller up there. Sure enough. So he just couldn't stand to fold it. We mentioned something about a fair number of players being like that at 10 No Limit. So we're going to go ahead and give him the green calling monkey flag. He probably should have known that we had at least a pair there in that hand. He might have had second pair, worst kicker, something along those lines. Or even third pair. Either way, he called with worse. That's what we like to know. Call, fold. that evidence is consistent with the theory that he's a calling station. He may have just called twice with a draw and then given up. That's certainly nothing for sure, but it's always nice to look and see that what somebody does is consistent, at least, with your theory. So let's go ahead and raise that up. We were liking our double gutter. He certainly could have folded there. Now this could be one of those spots we talked about it earlier today and found a spot where we were able to get a guy to fold when we wanted him to by making more of a move than habitually we have been in these videos. We were happy about that because we had resolved to do that, to look for those. But if he's called twice, I just don't see him folding too much. I think he's just sort of decided he's good. He's a little bit sick of our raising maybe. And he bets. I just can't believe he's bluffing there. It's hard to imagine. I mean, obviously we can't beat anything. I think we'll let it go. Just worth taking a second to see if we can suss out what he might be up to. He could have flopped the nuts or something, I suppose. But I think he was probably... he may just as easily have been just getting a little stubborn with a pair. And I guess rightfully so, since we didn't have anything. Check raise would have been an interesting attempt on that last hand over here. It may have been enough to sort of give him pause if we sort of check shoved or something like that, like we had flopped the nuts. I'm not sure he would have believed it, considering that we started off this table being pretty active. And if he's observant at all, he may have been formulating his own theories about us. He may have already given us a blue flag, something along those lines, and decided that he should be playing a little bit lighter against us. Not all of these players, of course, are able to think that much, but some of them can. And we hate to lose a big pot just by underestimating somebody. So, given the sort of timing and circumstances, I think it probably wasn't the greatest moment to try such a thing. Try to keep those game flow considerations in mind. So number 2 on that right-hand table may be overplaying his ace-king just a tad. I think it's not. I'm not sure if... I think 5 was the shover and 2 was the callee. So just based on that one hand, let's give him just a marker to know where he is. Make sure we know if it's the same guy. So I think this could very easily be Just a hand with a lot of equity, not necessarily a made hand. At this particular juncture, I wouldn't be surprised if our ace was good, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're a slight dog to his combo type hands. But we're either a slight dog or we could be crushed by something like, well, not crushed, but dominated by ace, king, ace, queen. And of course, he could have made a pair. He could have a pair of tens. He could have a nine in there somehow. We don't know anything about him other than the fact that he has managed to quadruple up more often than not, especially at 10 no limit. That's going to be a guy who just has a little more sense than the rest. So, not a whole lot of reason to mess about with that, I don't think, any further. A min bet, C bet. Those types of things I always think are a little bit funky. Okay, so that little min bet there may have been just a very weak attempt to just pick up the pot with no hands. So he may be something of a kind of a passive player. And again, he's just limped here. I'm okay starting off with a yellow flag for him. Also consistent with our previous, the theory we had on the previous hand that that he wasn't putting that money and he wasn't making that re-raise without some kind of reasonable equity. Okay. Let's play a hand with our friend number 3 on the left-hand side. Okay, we got a pair. We still got a pair. Can't fold just yet, buddy. Well, that is not a fantastic card for us. And we were ahead till the end. That is very typical of the hands. The last, I think, many hours of poker at the end of 2013, all those sort of losing sessions, a lot of them were like that. Just tons and tons of hands like that. Where the worst card that could come shows up for us. I mean, we could have played that differently. We could have raised somewhere in there and taken it down. No guarantee that it would have worked. But a reasonable amount of the time it probably would have. But I think it's fine to play it the way we did too. We thought we had the best hand, so we were willing to call, and we just didn't stay ahead. Obviously, any card but an ace or a queen on that river, and we're in pretty good shape, or a heart, I suppose. This guy's done it. This is his second time. Let's go ahead and call him and see what kind of hands he's up to. He's doing that with, in this case, it's eights. I'm okay with that. I think if he's doing that with eights, he's probably also doing it with ace, king, ace, queen, maybe ace, jack kind of hands. Maybe worse than those hands. 6 folding to a min raise there. Perhaps yet another player sort of just weakly taking a stab at it at the end and then giving up. Obviously not a hand with any showdown value. Well, there you go. 4 doing us a nice favor. We managed to stay ahead. Something else we rarely did for a handful of sessions in a row there. Way back in 2013. Feel like we took our lumps a lot with hands like aces. Not that I was able to share most of those hands. I think every time I sort of managed to record a little session, we'd win a few cents or something, and then next time I'd make a video, it was trying to explain that in the interim I had managed to lose money in sessions where there were lots of those hands, and kind of whine about the bad beats, and then not even to be able to have them happen when I was recording, so that at least you all could bear witness to that nasty luck. But it is what it is. Look, this is the 3rd time we're recording today. Well, 3rd time we're playing today, 3rd time we're recording. Maybe I'll just record everything. Flood the internet with Run It Up 2 videos. So 5 going deep with his king high. And 2 does seem to value his top pair quite highly. Now there's that weak bet that he tried last time, and we took the pot. So I think that this time we're just going to do it again. I mean, heck, we could even get there. We didn't. All right, that's a pattern we like to see. When he calls the re-raise, he's clearly putting that little bet in there with some kind of equity, chasing something. Just so we remember that, I'm going to make a note of it. I mean, we've got him yellow, but I want to make sure we know why he's yellow. If there's a specific reason for it, it's going to be nice to be able to double check that. And of course, we'll make sure to name our price when we think we're in an equivalent situation. No re-raising there from number 1, so a little bit on the passive side. Not surprisingly, that's very much what we've seen. Or what we've noticed about his poker personality up there. Limp fold from a player on our right is always welcome. Maybe a little premature to give him a flag for that, but as a very tentative first description, first impression, we're going to say he's maybe a little on the passive side and making those weak ass plays. 7 deuce, he had us dominated. Okay, so we've really only got one player to get through here. The button is sitting out. This guy is passive and will fold. And there you go, 15 cents for our troubles. Flopping another nice draw. It's been a long time since I flopped so many draws and had reasonable prices. And now they go check, check. Okay, so seems a bit strange. Okay. Good to know, and that's one of those spots where it may seem weird not to go ahead and reach out there and try to take that pot, but it's one of those spots where I have pretty consistently seen people at 10 no limit here call just about anything with, just because you failed to bet earlier, they become utterly convinced that you can't have anything and that their second pair is going to be good. It would not have surprised me to bet and see that guy call us, for example. This time we'll do it because we know at least 1 out of 2 opponents can fold. Nothing to it. Speaking of not betting that hand out of the blind, I think in the last session we played earlier today, there were a couple of hands that may have looked a little nitty. When we had queens, for example, we folded it pre-flop to a shove, and they were a couple of spots where when I have watched, when I saw the videos way back when Jason Somerville, our inspiration for this challenge, was working up through micro limits, he if there was anything that I disagreed with in his play, it was that. I think there were some places where these limits, they just aren't bluffing. They're just never ever bluffing. And he would sort of call anyway because a reasonable amount of the time a reasonable player would be bluffing and it would be worth it. But I think he overestimated how often people would be bluffing, like their true bluffing rate would be something approaching 0. And sure enough, he called and sort of would lose some pots that way. Now, that may just be sort of a lack of familiarity. I had spent a little time, probably more recently than he had, at these low limits. So it's understandable. You know, a player who's used to playing against reasonable opponents would probably, you'd have some expectation that he would lean, if he were to err at all, that he might err in that direction. So I think it's okay that we folded those hands earlier. So really we were kind of, this guy it seemed could potentially end up overvaluing a pair or something like that if we managed to make a monster. And we didn't flop a monster, but we're getting a heck of a price here. As a matter of fact, that's such a small bet. I think we're going to go ahead and try to take it now. It's one of those things you sort of can't believe that it's that straightforward, time after time after time. But welcome to the world of 10 No Limit. And like I mentioned earlier today, it can be hard to force yourself to believe that everything is that straightforward and that people are behaving that simply, but the fact of the matter is just that they do. Especially this guy, for example. This guy is never going to be doing that without a reasonable hand. Well, it was a hand that he thought was reasonable. So I'm pretty sure, thought his 2-pair was good there. Otherwise, I think he's never, ever betting. Or never, ever raising, anyway. If he'd thought about it, I almost guarantee he would have checked. It just either didn't cross his mind, or for some reason he decided 2-pair had to be the nuts there. So a short stacker there. Let's see if we can take his last 245. Now he could be tilting here, but I really don't expect, because he's a yellow guy, really don't expect that he's going to be doing that too lightly. We can't stay ahead of the King 10. Well, let's try one more time. Just play another hand. First time this guy has 3-bet us, I believe. Not a great looking flop to work with. And of course, we're going to have 2 cards coming. We're going to have to call that. We should be in decent shape. Sure enough, we've got some catching up to do. And we don't manage to do that catching up. The old cookie starting to crumble like 2013 again. Much as I don't like flat calling on the button, we're going to do it with our 5s. It's not really going to get us in too much trouble, I don't think. I don't think somebody's going to sort of, if there was showdown, really be able to understand and remember what was going on and be able to use it against us. So we'll just weakly sneak on in there. Looks like, I wonder if 1 is tilting a little bit after that 2-pair hand that he lost with. Meantime, making a pair over here. One would think that we should be ahead with a jack now. Sometimes on a board like that, there'll be a really weak ace. Ace-5 will be in there, not have the wherewithal to bet that flop, but suddenly start calling bets on that flop. Funny phenomenon. They just sort of don't think they're strong enough to bet, but they at the same time can't resist calling. Okay, so that's an opportunity to top off a little bit. Really want to make sure we're fully stacked for when we roll into a nice situation and catch somebody playing like they're at 10 no limit. And what was that guy's kicker when he had a jack? Was it jack 3, I think? Very, very 10 no limity. 10 no limity call there. So I think that's enough to make him a green calling monkey. Jack 7, no good. Looks like maybe 5 doesn't quite know when to quit. We're going to give him a little flag too. Not sure exactly how to categorize him, so we're just going to make him yellow. There's a donk bet, and there's a call. They're a little short behind, but I think we can look once. Look twice. And fortune smiles on us for once. Overcalling a bit, but we're gonna make it worthwhile. A little bit of the 2014 in that one. Good riddance, 2013. You can't hound us forever. And another nice draw. Well, I think it's probably okay to go ahead and do that. I'm pretty sure he'd be insta-calling with queen, but he could put it in with a draw, or maybe even decide we're on a draw and put it in with second pair, something like that. So 3 is looking fairly straightforward. I had some not real concerns, but wanted to keep an eye and see if he was somebody who was going to try to keep us honest on our left, and it looks like he's not really up to too much over there. All the same, I think we're going to pass on raising the 8-3 if we had the opportunity. You know, I think I'm going to opt for checking here. It's just, I think, too likely to be getting too many calls from too many hands. And we're not in that fantastic a shape. Well, we're not in bad shape. That too may be quite nitty, but as a matter of fact, maybe downright horrible. Let's take a Well, maybe for next time we'll take a look at those numbers. I would say in PokerStove, except the PokerStove seems to have expired itself. But that's all right. We can look it up in Equilab. Considering he's got that iffy status there, I think that was probably the only little stab at it we were going to take. Could have made that a little smaller and tried to get number 3 to call us there, but given his green tag there, I thought it might be worth trying to throw an extra dime in there. Slightly odd check. Would have expected him to bet there. I wonder if he's flopped pretty strong there. More of those tiny little bets. And sure enough, betting third of the pot with pocket nines there, just I guess unsure if he was good or not, and not willing to spend too much money to find out. I find it hard to believe that he would be intentionally betting smaller for value there. I just don't think these players are doing that very often. Like maybe never. Well, never say never, I guess, but Something approaching never, perhaps. So obviously no guarantee that we're ahead. We are. Okay. Even if he had an ace, it was kind of a, how strong an ace could it be situation. So worthwhile trying to continue and adopt the bluffy path. Of course, knowing that he's yellow and is able to fold. If that were a green flag, I would say we probably, we may have c-bet once and left it at that. Some fellers I've seen here at 10 no limit would not have even c-bet that. Well, I don't know if that's true. If they're that green, they've got to be calling pretty dang wide pre-flop, eh? So fours get it all in and no good. So he'll shove his short stack down to at least pocket fours. Good to know. Good to know. You know what the heck. I think this is going to be our last orbit. Let's just get in there all over the place. Okay, let's get out of there all over the place. Five, seven making a big move. Unless he just improved, I find it difficult to believe that we're too far behind. And that's a spot that it seems like would have gone very differently in 2013. It's one of those where, he could turn around and shove that and, be a goofy enough player that he could sort of be doing it with the queen or still be doing it with the diamonds. I mean, there are people who will do that, sort of make that call and then turn around and try to get aggressive with their draw on the turn when they're losing equity and then, find out that they happen to make that queen and, in a spot where we've just got the call and lose anyway. But it's 2014. It's 2014. It's a whole new thing. What the heck? Let's give it a whirl. We're on a heater. Things are going our way. Let's play the Queen 6. If we get the opportunity, I think may have just taken a free card and see what we could work up to. But as is, probably a bad, well, not a terrible fold, but it couldn't have probably been that terrible to call either. All right, that'll do. On the right-hand table, 1654. on the left, 1638. So I think that makes up for the $9 or so that we topped off with. If there's the calculator. So finishing bankroll 230.22. We started at 226.30. So 392 is certainly better than nothing, and that makes it 3 for 3. Just can't stand it. Just can't stand how well we're running. And that was a session with a couple of unfortunate hands. A little bit of 2013 popping up just to say hello. But very nice to sort of stay ahead of those and show a mild profit. Like I said, it's better than not showing a profit. Better than that negative stuff. So hot dang diggity. 2014 rolls on. Thanks for stopping by. Questions and comments below. runitup2@gmail.com if you prefer. Hope everybody is staying warm out there. We'll see you next time.